Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified Doctor of Naturopathy, Dr. Stephen Cabral, shares with you exactly how you can reverse aging, take back your health, and live a life full of energy and passion, with new 20-minute episodes every single day to keep you healthy and engaged. Now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
All right, everyone, we are here today with our first Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. As always, thanks so much for tuning into the show. I always look forward to being able to see what the questions are this week and every single week. We've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years, so we've gotten to thousands upon thousands of your questions. If you have your own question, first things first, see if it was already answered. Check it out at stephencabral.com/podcast. Just type in your keyword, whether it's migraines or it is let's just say food sensitivities or whatever it might be. Type it right in there. See if it's been answered on a show before. Most likely it has, with well over or close to 3,000 podcasts completed. But you can also ask specifically at cabralsupportgroup.com. If your question still hasn't been answered, absolutely right on into the show. Would love to have you. It's just about a 10 to 12 week wait time, simply because of the questions that are in the queue before you. And that is at stephencabral.com/askcabral. Completely free service. Just love being able to support our community in any way that I can. It was always my goal. I said that at essentially 19 years old. I'd already been sick for 2 years. I said, if I ever figure this out, I will share this with the world. And it took me a while. It took me 10 years, but I started to make good on that promise. And I'm certainly not perfect by any means, but I do my best. And so hopefully these weekend house calls are helpful. All right. One last thing, if you find the house calls helpful, if you find the podcast helpful, I would love you to leave a review right now, just by going to your favorite podcast player and just leave a short review. Whatever you think of the show, would love to see 5 stars, but if it's not 5 stars, you put whatever you feel is the right rating for you. I read each and every comment. My team will use this as fuel every single day a brand new Cabral concept comes out. So thank you so much. All right, let's get into the first question. I just opened up the document. I think we're in the right place. Audrey seems like she's up first. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I noticed on your resources page, you do not have the Berkey water filter listed anymore. I think I answered this one. I know I answered that one. All right, let's move on. All right, first question of the day, legitimate first question of the day. And if you want to follow along with the questions, head on over to stephencabral.com/2885. I do remember answering that one last week, and that was my fault, not the team's fault. I need to find the right place. All right, we left off with Gabrielle. Gabrielle says, hi, Stephen. I'm currently enrolled in your IHP level 1 and 2 certification course, and I'm loving it. I have a request for a HouseCall podcast topic, please. I've been on oral contraceptive birth control for 7 years now, and I know I need to get rid of it, and soon, before my well-being takes more of a hit. What do you recommend in terms of herbal supplements and any naturopathic protocols to ease back my body into its natural rhythm once I stop taking the pill? Last year, I took 9 months break from birth control and did not have my normal cycle return. I also experienced hormonal acne in this transition period as well. I consider myself a very healthy person and integrate naturopathic healing into my life. You may already have an episode on this topic, so if I am missing that, I apologize. Okay, no, I'm happy to answer this question. Definitely talked about birth control many, many times, and what we do. So this is exactly what we do. So a woman will decide to stop her birth control, and then we will watch how the cycle is going over essentially 3 months. And if there's any uptake in symptoms, I like to test about 6 weeks to 8 weeks later. And I will test during the time of the most symptoms: bloating, acne, oily skin, irritability, low mood, anything like that, water retention, weight gain. So that's because if your cycle hasn't returned, well, let's see if we find a time where there's the most symptoms, because that will show us essentially what the imbalances are in the body. But you don't know what they are. You just feel the symptoms, right? The rain barrel's overflowed. So now you feel the symptoms such as the oily skin or the acne or the irritability, the low mood, the water retention, weight gain. Okay. So we run what's called a stress, mood, and metabolism test. You find that at stephencabral.com/shop. You just search. It just takes you over to Equalife. You can just search for anything you want there. The direct link, I think, is stephencabral.com/hormones-test. But like I said, everything, all the labs we run, all the protocols are at stephencabral.com/shop. So I don't have to say that now. Now you know it. All right. So here's what we do then. Then we use a product called progesterone support to rebuild and boost progesterone if it's low. If estrogen is low, we use another natural herbal product called estrogen support. These aren't crazy names. These are exactly what they do, right? And if estrogen is too high compared to progesterone, we use a product called estrogen balance, which doesn't eliminate estrogen, but it lowers and removes it faster from the body. It can be really helpful. We will typically use, of course, the daily foundational protocol with the omega-3s, the daily nutritional support, which has all the methylated B vitamins, and then we'll usually use full spectrum magnesium. So that's where we start. That's our start. Get those omega-3s, get all the good stuff in there. And then based on your labs, we can always tweak up or down whatever is needed. And then of course, what I would say is take advantage, use a sauna if you have the ability to use a sauna, work on the stress levels in your life as well. All of this will be very helpful. Okay. All right. And congrats on joining Integrative Health Practitioner Institute. We love having you. We love, obviously, in the future, you're going to be sharing these recommendations, I'm sure, with other women as well. All right. Laura is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm wondering if active dry yeast is an okay ingredient to use for baking, and why not, or why it is. Also, do you think nutritional yeast is okay if you're from Europe, or is it not healthy to consume it everywhere? If it's got MSG in Europe too, thank you. Thanks so much. Okay. Yeah, I've actually answered this before. So I'm not an advocate of yeast or nutritional yeast in food. Now, will I sometimes eat some bread that has some yeast? Sure. But I try not to. It's definitely, I don't look at it as a health food. I really don't. Now, nutritional yeast, yes, it has B vitamins. It has a lot of other nutrients. Sure. Do I think that that's where we need to be getting all of our B vitamins and things from? I don't think so. I think that it can actually cause issues in the gut for many people. It's not about MSG. It has a molecular structure that is very close to monosodium glutamate, right? Very close to MSG, which can then cause issues in some people, such as anxiety or worry or overwhelm or excitability. So that's why I'm not an advocate. Now, does everyone react like this? No. And so it's kind of knowing you as an individual. And then also you can test for it. You can actually test to see if this is a sensitivity in terms of the immune system. And that's on the food sensitivity test, the IgG food sensitivity test. And again, you can find that for both children and adults at stephencabral.com/shop. I have a whole podcast on yeast as not a health food. And that's at stephencabral.com/podcast. If you're not able to find that on nutritional yeast, just write into cabralsupportgroup.com. We will find it for you. All right. Thank you for writing in. All right. And again, some people do better in Europe, not because of the yeast. They do better in Europe because they might be eating a sourdough bread, or they're having pasta and they're using a form of wheat that does not have as much gluten. And it's more hybridized here in the US. So it's cleaner. It doesn't use the same glyphosate, the same pesticides. That's why often people do better in Europe. Okay. Joy says, I have a frozen big toe on my left foot. Can you give me some causes? Okay. We don't work a lot with frozen big toes. Frozen shoulder, yes, which is oftentimes from stress, poor biomechanics, and inflammation and other causal factors. Frozen big toe, which is not usually an area for immobility. However, it could happen because of inflammation that's creating the joint to become more calcified. So that's one. Another one could be at least a form of arthritis or gouty arthritis, that if you don't have any pain, it can still create crystal buildup, which could cause immobility. Besides that, I don't have any other recommendations. This is obviously, I don't do any research before the show. So this is just off the top of my head. I apologize that I don't have more information than that. But, I just wanted to give you at least another second opinion. Having said that, of course, I can't give any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis on the show. All right. Jessica's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've been experiencing headaches and neck aches regularly. At their worst, upon waking up every morning. The neurologist gave me migraine pills. The ENT did a balloon sinuplasty in my early 20s, but the issue persists. I've tried regular massages and I've been seeing a chiropractor for the last year or so. So while it seems to help, it does not resolve the pain and discomfort. I'm so tired of nobody knowing what's going on. Any idea why my occipital region is giving me so much grief? I'd be so grateful to get to the root cause. Thank you so much for your insight. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, the occipital region, occipital is usually the back, so it's the back of the head. It's actually in the brain area. It's the smallest lobe. It's basically the back of the head. And we have absolutely seen headaches and neuralgia, pain in the occipital region, not always upon waking up, but we've certainly seen that. So here's what I do, because it could be many different reasons. I run the Big Five. And I know you're like, oh, you always say that. Yes, I do. Because we don't know. We don't know the food sensitivities. We don't know if there's heavy metals. We don't know if there's gut issues causing inflammation. We don't know if there's imbalances in minerals, like literally your electrolytes. We don't know if there's too low an amount of methylated B vitamins to help with inflammation. We don't know if your calcium and magnesium is off. Like all of these things legitimately could be a cause. So I would run the Big Five labs if you're able to. And this is, I don't think a chiropractor or massage therapist is going to be the cure, but I like that you're seeing them. I also don't think an acupuncturist is going to be the cure, but I would recommend that as well. Okay, so I think the cure is finding an underlying root cause for sure. And that is what I would work on in terms of rebalances. Because again, we help people with migraines, with headaches, with temporal headaches, with TMJ pain, with trigeminal nerve pain, all of it, right? But there's always an underlying root cause, always. And so that's what we look for. All right, let's get into another question. This one is from Audrey. Audrey says, hi, Dr. Cabral, can you please do a Friday review on the LifeWave X39 patch? It's a patch you wear on the back of your neck that uses your body heat to activate light to regenerate your stem cells. The scientific research behind it seems to be credible. However, I trust your opinion above all others. Thanks. Okay. So here's the thing. I probably won't be doing a Friday review on it until I see new research, because it's not... No, I do not speak negatively about any company. I actually don't know really what to think of this company. I know all about the product. I've looked it up. Many people have asked me about it. It uses phototherapy. It uses bioenergetics. So basically light and heat, using energy-based medicine to help with the body. However, and I will say this, I have not seen a single scientific study on this. So that doesn't mean there isn't any, but I went on their website. I've been on their website multiple times. There's no scientific research. There are patents, but patents are not necessarily the same as scientific research. So until I see good, solid scientific research, it's not that I'm saying it's bad. It's just like I can't recommend it. So because there's so many things in the world that do help, right? So they're not inexpensive. So I'd say, well, I'd rather have you doing sauna, which I know helps with stem cells. I'd rather have you using something like the Advanced Renewal Kit. I'd rather have you using even just Cell Boost. I'd rather have you using or doing the things we talk about inside of High Performance Health, right? Red light therapy and all of these great things that we teach there. So remember, like, you can only spend your money on so many things unless you have unlimited money, of course, and then that's a different story. But I'm just so slow to recommend things that I don't know if they work or not. And the reason is because there's so many great things in the world. If you go to stephencabral.com/resources, I have like 150 different companies I recommend that are doing great work and have great stuff. Now, I'm not saying that this company doesn't, but what I'm saying is I have not seen a single double-blind clinical study showing that it works. But I do know that all the ingredients in something like a Cell Boost or Inflammasoothe have studies behind them. And so, like I said, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I have a difficult time recommending products like that until there's more. Now, they might be just way before their time. And you know what? They very well could be, right? I believe in energy medicine. I absolutely do. Really difficult for me to use in my practice right now because there's no system for systematic, replicable results. So when people come into my practice, I need to get them results every single time. Not sometimes, every single time. And that's why I do things with very stringent policies, simply because I feel like a lot of times it's people's last stop and they're so frustrated, they're so overwhelmed that that's what I do. And then I just simply work the process of precision-based health using functional medicine at-home lab testing, specific protocols, and then maintenance-based plans following the de-stress protocol that I write about in the Rain Barrel Effect. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you everybody for writing into the show. I thank you. I appreciate you as always. I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community questions. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Steven Cabral. And that's Steven with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.